Welcome to You Change the World, changing the world, right? That's something that you don't even know you're doing on every single day, every single minute of the day. When you have the privilege to lead a project, to lead people, you've got responsibility, you've got exposure, you're visible. There is definitely people who are watching you, and who cares if they're judging you? You know, those two magic words, so what? This is something to internalize. This is really magic. Of course, it sounds very simple and very simplistic, but it's true. So what? I think this is the key word to first feel comfortable under the spotlight when you are visible, definitely. And it is to let go because we are always subconsciously willing to control or to think that we have any control, and we don't have much of it, believe me. And then when it comes to time, because time is also something we try to manage as much as we can, we think we are not in control of it because we've got so many disruptions and interruptions and distractions that it's extremely difficult to keep focused. But then we talk about obviously boundaries. And time boundaries means I set the rules for different things. I can belong to a team, a shift, right? In a hospital, if I'm a nurse and I'm part of a team, I start at 7 in the morning. I finished at, I don't know what, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then if I'm late or if I'm going to stay a little longer to help a colleague of mine, all of this is dependent on others. It's something that has impact on your leadership, on your control of your time, and if you leave a little room for the unpredictable, and eventually even more room for those things that happen without you expecting this coming, you become free and freer and freer. So this whole concept of freedom, of controlling, of the so what, where you let go and you do not want to worry when it's not necessary, is part of the whole chapter of behavior and a choice that you make to become a better leader, to give yourself some space, space of time, space geographically, space around you, the space that you take individually on your own that you decide to take, where sometimes to defend it, that's the boundary, you're going to have to push back and say, no, I'm not available. Or say to your boss, what you're asking me right now, it's not appropriate. I have a priority. Let me just do what I do. You trust my judgment. I need to finish what I do, and then I'll get back to you. Or we meet in an hour. It's you who are staying in the driving seat and remain in control. All this to introduce another topic. How do you align people? How do you engage people? How do you avoid conflict and difficult conversation if you can? Well, there is different things that are, in fact, the basis of why people have difficulty, and in the coaching they bring in the coaching space, the challenges of convincing, justifying, the challenges of having to face someone who is resisting change or is eventually offensive and really proactively tells you in your face that he's not going to follow your guidance or your instructions, and all of this for any kind of reason that is external of you. So let's put a context, a good example, something that comes back very typically, I would say almost every week. And that's the concept of someone who is leading a new team and is inheriting this team. That's not a team that this person built. Those are mostly the people that he never hired himself or herself. This is definitely, let's say, 8 people, 3 direct reports, 12 people, 3 direct reports. I'm just trying to find a proportion. And and those, are inherited. But before anything, you, the leader, has been hired and designated in that role for a reason. There was this process, and interviews, applications, candidates, contenders for that position. You've been the one that has been selected after all the whole process of selection. I always ask my client, connect to that moment, connect to that concept that you've been the one selected, and try to ask yourself why. Why you and no one else? Yes, we are all replaceable. Okay, fine. But for this particular challenge, you're the one who convinced everyone who were this, part of the decision in hiring you for that position, and that's the decision that has been made. Now, most of the time, and that's a mistake from the upper leadership, they did not set the stage, did not onboard you the proper way, or told the people that you are going to lead why you and why at this position. They did not, in fact, onboard you and set the stage for you to hold that leadership position. You have not been put in that place there properly by your direct supervisor. It did not tell your team, this is John, and John is going to now become your leader. The reason John is your leader, da 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 da. And if John replaces, Albert, and Albert was your leader, and you liked him, and you've been working with him for years, now this is John, another man, another mindset, everything different, another DNA. I ask you to adapt yourself to him. That's his boss talking to the team. And not only I ask you that, but I promise you'll be happy with him. He is very competent in what he does. Da 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 da. We give them some ammunition to accept him, to give him that place, that spot that he has, and make it a little easier. Because when someone comes to lead a new team, whoever that is, it's always challenging. Now, the person I'm coaching now, the one who is in fact leading that new team, and I have an example to give you. It was yesterday, and that leader has a very big operation and a big scaling, ambitious program and plan in front of him. And he has a large team. Today, I don't know how many, but it's scaling. So very fast, it's going to be even bigger and bigger and bigger. And that has to do with managing different buildings. One of the buildings manager makes it very difficult for him in his team. Those building managers report to him, or at least groups of buildings. And that person particularly makes it very difficult for him. And he was about to have a meeting with him, and we were preparing that meeting. What were we talking about? Well, definitely about this onboarding situation. I asked him the question, was it done that way? Was it prepared? Did the stage was the stage set for you to be the leader of that person? And the answer was no. And it's always weak and it's always fast because we don't take the time, because there is no reason to take the time to set the stage for this person that is new and is going to lead this group of people. That's really a negligence and something people skip and damage a lot of things because of that. You take the time, you set up the stage, you use your charisma and your leadership to explain to that team that they're going to get now this leader to lead them. If it's not done and done well, and we can go back to how to do it, there is no prescribed method or a standard to do this, but definitely you understand the goal. We want at least the people to feel engaged, to feel motivated that they're going to get someone in that leadership role for a reason. Now, most of the time, another thing happens is that in the team, someone applied for that job and was really hoping to get the leadership role and start to lead the former peers in that position. Many times, this person who thought he would get the job gets the job. But in this particular instance, it's not the case. They need someone senior. They need someone external who has no influence from the company and from the background of the company, comes fresh, fresh and brings something like a clean slate. That person now is the manager, is the leader. And why this person is making it difficult? Because that person, it was not a coincidence, is the one who wanted the job. So he has to go through that process of bitterness, of regret, of anger, of whatever, That person who takes the job has nothing to do with all of that, does he? It doesn't. And that's the problem. He's going to have already that situation in front of him. But this is exactly typically a good reason to say, so what? So what? That I am the boss and you wanted to be that boss and you wanted to have that position. What do I have to do with the fact that I applied for that position not knowing you and that they have selected me to lead that whole team? I'm not saying you should have that conversation that way with that person. In fact, you should not have any conversation with that person, but one thing and one only is I'm sharing with you the purpose of why we are here together. And we are in this together, this challenge, this project that this company is going to scale. Give him the bigger picture because he's missing it. He's too much in his, in his nose, completely focused in him and all his frustrations. He's not open yet. And maybe it's not yet the time to have this conversation. Let him set in and settle with this idea that he has this boss right there and he didn't choose that boss, but that boss was imposed on him. True. And it was skipped. It was not prepared for him to get this leadership, this new leadership in. Now he has to do the job. That's part of the job that this new leader has to do is to try not to convince, not to have them love him, not to get an election and a vote for him, because all of that was decided already. So there is an emotional landscape before it's operational, before it's transactional. Then the resistance often comes from someone who wanted the role. So there's no logic, there's just identity. I'm who I am. I come from this background. I don't have to give you my whole resume, but I can tell you that my guess is that I'm where I am because I've been proving myself doing a lot of things that are now similar to the job that now I have to do with your help and your collaboration to make this whole thing grow and become a big thing because I've done it already several times. Ah, already here, not having to prove anything, just that little story should be enough for him to understand because they are smart usually. That, well, maybe he's right. He has nothing to do anyway with my frustration. He is the one who takes the job. That's a fact. Now, why do I spend my time and my energy resisting it and making it difficult and causing the conversation to be difficult? All of that negativity is in the mind and the head of this guy who's resisting it, not of the new leader, not of you that I'm coaching. All of that comes from this person. It generates the negativity, the toxicity, and all of that. He's going to talk to the other members of the team. He's going to, try to even do a terrible thing like gossip, which is the worst thing. I can be the new leader and tell the guy, oh, 1 second, I noticed something. You are very angry and upset, and you know that has nothing to do with me. What you're doing, though, is that you're spoiling, right, the good temper, the good atmosphere, and the positivity that everybody had before you started to get that contagion of your frustration and trying to get and engage everybody in your negativity. You need to stop that because I don't tolerate it. That's something I'm not tolerating. So you're in or you're out, something like that. Not that fast, but it is definitely what we want to say. We convey a message for that person to understand that there is a red line. I don't want you to influence others with your problems and your toxicity. So it's a trap. The new leader tries to convince them, to prove something to them. That's the wrong attitude right away. I went through that myself. I had a new leader in between the one that hired me. He imposed someone in the middle, and he did not prepare us so much. And that guy who took the position made the mistake that he wanted to prove something and convince us of something. He did not succeed. He was out after a month or two, I don't remember. But it was definitely not a successful, you know, endeavor because the guy tried to convince us or justify something. No, he needs to be present and start performing and not lead necessarily with authority. He is the one who comes here and he needs to reframe what people do not understand and try to not educate, not explain lengthy, justifications, but just come back and connect the people back to the reason of why things happen that way. There's an organization, and they already chose me. My job is to stand, not to persuade you. And then I can explain and clarify to you the different roles that I see for this team. And if you don't want to stop with your nonsense, I leave you there in your vacuum, in your isolation, until you're ready. And then I invite you in to start working and collaborating and talk about this project and about the bigger picture and the purpose of why we are all together in this boat. The purpose is what motivates people. The purpose is the best topic we can have in the conversation. And it's a transition. We can say that. We can always say it's a transition. It's normal to feel something like what you do feel. And our focus is the mission, not a personal comparison or a personal ambition or deception or disappointment. And we can disagree at the end of the day and still stay responsible and align ourselves. That's a good conversation to have. It sets the stage. The thing that is boss, the guys I'm coaching did not do and skipped and neglected. So he made the job a little bit harder. But you don't have to be louder in your presence. You don't have to be tougher in your presence. You need to just be clear. You just have to frame and not react. And the more you're consistent with that, the person sees it, experiences it, and starts to, think, well, there's consistency about the bigger picture, this consistency about purpose, and this consistency that, in fact, all of that makes sense and is part of a plan. Maybe, and plan changed. I'm part of that team. I should be proud of that. We are going to grow all together. I don't have the job I wanted because it was not for me yet. That's what it is, if I have to use some wisdom and realize that. Instead of being jealous or making it difficult, going to HR, going beyond my boss and talk to his boss. And if his boss opens the door to gossip and to complaints, that's the end of it, because it happens. And I made a posting on LinkedIn recently about it, because that happens. And it happened a few times in my coaching life to have clients who were victim of this. And when there is someone who goes above my clients, to his boss or to her boss, to complain about him or her, it creates another level of toxicity that, if you allow it, if you enable that space to exist, and that I'm talking now about the boss's boss, then it's over. You are allowing something bad to happen and entitled to do it. Then if you bring HR in this equation at one point, I don't know which direction it's going to take. But in one instance, my client was fired. He didn't know how to handle it. Even the coaching was not enough. It was not the right time for him in his life to bear this kind of challenge. It was too personal. That person was too aggressive, too confrontational, and he was not ready for that. He was ready for the job, for the responsibility, but he was not ready for the confrontation. Yeah, this is this is tough, right? Well, when you stop negotiating your leadership, when others stop negotiating their followership, we are going to a good place. That's the turning point. That's the pivotal point. We need to try to put this on one line of communication and bring everybody under this purpose and move forward and say, listen, give it a chance, give it time, give yourself time, because I'm giving you time when I'm the leader. Alignment begins inside you first. And then you return to why you're here, to the purpose of why you're here. And then you come home to who you are. And you lead from there, from where you are and from who you are. Then when you do that, it's definitely a better place to be. And really, I would like to leave you with that. This is the idea of today. This is setting the stage, if you can, when you're the leader who are going to have your direct report lead a new team, someone you just recruited in a new position. It's part of it, it's indispensable, or it avoids any trouble and any misunderstandings. But if you don't do it and you count on your new recruit to do it, well, then new recruit that I'm coaching needs to work on this clarity of role, on this framing, and on being comfortable in his position, because by being comfortable and being present with this comfort level, it's becoming contagious about confidence and trust. You can set the stage and build the space for people to collaborate with you and follow you and align with a bigger picture, with something that you talk and connect them to, which is the corporation, the organization decision of hiring you to set up something, to organize something, to push something out there and bring that old situation to the next level, because that's why you've been hired and you proved yourself doing that before you got this position. And you don't have to convince anyone, especially not the people who work for you. You just need to be clear and compassionate, and give them, of course, the space to have their voice heard. But when it's complaint and when it's negativity, stop it, not tolerating it, and opening up for other opportunities. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.